Just briefly giving a background to PEDI. PEDI is the Philippi Economic Development Initiative, and we are a strategic partner with the City of Cape Town for the last 22 years, with the City of Cape Town being our primary partner. We are a registered non-profit company, and we are currently doing a number of programs and projects within the wider Philippi area. And with the city there as being our funder and, as I said, our strategic partner. So just briefly, the projects or the programs that we are doing. We are assisting the city in doing research around economic development, with Philippi being a strategic area within the city's future development framework around informal trading, infrastructure development, etc. Philippi we also have a program based around urban agriculture, the Agri Hub, which is based as the Philippi Fresh Produce Market. And the PEDI has been involved in urban agriculture for a considerable length of time. And that is busy being expanded with PEDI becoming the custodian of the Philippi Fresh Produce Market as a development partner for the city in bringing that site back to its original intention, which is as a hub for urban small-scale farmers. And then lastly, we are busy incubating what is called a precinct management unit for Philippi. It is, I can call it a township-based city improvement district type unit, where the focus is on getting all the different stakeholders in our community in the same space, and then dealing with crime and grime. So that's what PEDI has been busy with before the lockdown and before food security and food became a huge issue in our community. And based on PEDI's position with the city and within different stakeholders in the wider Philippi, we were in a very good space to actually act as a coordinator of food relief, also with our partners within the food, within the agri business and the food business. So what we saw was that there was a number of community action networks, a number of local NGOs that were active with food relief, but all of these efforts were uncoordinated. And what we tried to do then, in which we were able to facilitate, is to bring stakeholders together and address food relief in a more coordinated and a more unified manner. So just going back to the people that were involved. So Philippi East Industria is a location for quite a bit of large national and multinational businesses within the Philippi precinct. We have got a large number of informal settlements. Probably the most well-known is Marikana, with informally latest count around 40 to 60,000 people living there. And then places that are known more generally: Brown's Farm, Philippi itself, Crossroads. So we have very dense informal settlements, as well as built environment, where the need for food security has been very high. Then the development sector, the NGO sector, is quite active. We've got Philippi Village, which is a hub for the development sector, with very small to very large NGOs and businesses clustered there. And then obviously all the government agencies that are active in Philippi. So where we engaged with communities in the first place was through ward development forums. Now, the ward development forums in Philippi, there's a number of the wards that we work with, based on our relationship with the City of Cape Town. The way that we engage is through the sub-council and through the ward structures, which often can be a difficult way to engage with communities because of political affiliations, and because there's quite interesting, to put it mildly, different factions and tensions there. But in this case, which caused for us a very constituted body, but it's an informal gathering of NGOs, businesses, business forums, and people involved in community development that is aimed at socioeconomic development for the wards. And from that ward development forums, we helped engaged with what became COVID relief teams, which was elected by the ward development forums as being representative of community organizations and community formations. And that's the people that we engaged with in terms of food relief that came through PEDI. Now, just to take a step back, PEDI has an agri-hub with about 55 urban farmers connected to it. We act as an agent for them. And before lockdown, UCook was one of our largest clients that received organic vegetables from this supply chain. UCook decided very early on that they will invest in a large way in food security. And through them, Ladles of Love and Food Flow, we could redirect the fresh vegetables and fresh produce that came in through our urban farmers into our local communities. Now that fresh vegetables was actually added to with non-perishables that came through the different partners, but mainly through the UCook Fund. So that we could give families fairly large parcels, 3 to 4 weeks worth of food for a family of 4. So that's just the food source that we had. And then we worked with the local ward development forums, the COVID relief teams. And one of the big things, or one of the big learnings for us in this was the way that as partners we could rely on community structures. And that would be Sanko branches, local ecumenical action networks, street committees, NGOs, business forums. These ward development forums are quite widely represented. And what happened is that we relied on them then through the street committee and other networks, to identify the most vulnerable of families and provide then beneficiary lists that the COVID relief teams themselves arranged distribution areas. We used a voucher system for people to collect their food parcels. So on the ground, the community structures actually dealt with all of the beneficiary identification in the distribution of food. And there was checks and balances in the system where, because of the different types of structures involved, that corruption or diversion of food because of political affiliations actually didn't take place. And where there was attempts to happen, the community very quickly stopped it and redirected the efforts. So that's where we have been up to now. The food donations have dried up to a great extent through the private sector, which is a very worrying phenomenon for us, because the need has been increasing. And that's a place where I feel that government hasn't stepped up in terms of direct food relief before they have put in place COVID relief grants and UIF payments and the financial alternative for food relief. So going forward, I would say that the learnings that we have is that a bottom-up approach in terms of food relief, if it is properly constituted and if it is done in a dignified and collaborative way, is the only way to go with grassroots food distribution. So also the whole of society approach, where you get all stakeholders involved and all stakeholders communicating with one another, has been very effective for us in a place like Philippi. Then going into the future, I really believe that the trust relationships that has been built in the different wards, ward development forums, not only positions communities like Philippi to channel food relief and other emergency relief in a responsible and an appropriate way to the people that needs to get it, but also all other socioeconomic development that could come into future. So for me, that would be one of the most amazing legacies of this time, would be the channels into communities for other development. PEDI itself, as a custodian and a partner with the city for developing the Philippi fresh produce market, is positioned to also now assist in food gardens becoming urban farming, and a flow of food coming from urban farming and going back into the community in the future. So yeah, there's a huge opportunity in terms of the Philippi fresh produce market as a place in the future for fresh produce and other food-related relief. Yeah, I think that's about it for us. Thanks.